the last time I came to a Green Biz event in 2011, one of the topics that came out of the audience as needing further study was the relationship between sustainability and beauty. And I was working on a book on the topic at the time, which came out the following year, and to my knowledge, The Shape of Green is the only book dedicated to this topic. So the book asks a simple question, which is, does sustainability change the face of design or only its content? So to give you an idea of what I mean, so if I showed you two cars and asked you to pick which one of them is green, you might be hard-pressed to do it. One of them is a conventional sedan with a regular gas engine, and the other is the same model but with a hybrid engine. And essentially, they're the same design, so sustainability is hidden under the hood. By contrast, I drive a first-generation smart car, which gets better mileage than most of the American hybrids simply because it's small, round, light, and compact. So I like to think of it as an example of how design trumps technology. But we tend to associate sustainability with technology. As an architect, the first thing I'm always asked by a client is, are we going to have solar panels and wind turbines? That's what we think sustainability is. So it's not just the design industry that thinks this way. A few years ago, the cover of Scientific American announced a plan for a sustainable future, which got me all excited for airplane reading. And I got closer and saw the subtitle, which is how to get all energy from wind, water, and solar by 2030. So I thought, okay, a sustainable future is purely about new technology. So to test this, if I told you that someday everything we make would be clean, harmless, and infinitely renewable, would that be enough? So to make it more personal, if I told you you could wake up every morning and ingest a pill like this one and meet all your daily nutritional needs and never have to eat again, would that be enough? Would you miss the feeling of the tangy spray of orange on your tongue as you bite into it, or the sweet smell of basil as it simmers in olive oil? So what are we trying to sustain? Is it life itself or just life support systems? Now, as a designer, we're often told that sustainable design is trying to make design that behaves more like nature, which begs the question, what is nature like? I took this photo a few years ago in the Sierras during the time in autumn when the aspen groves look like this. It's like walking into a three-dimensional sunset. Now, a conventional view of how design learns from nature looks at this scene and asks, look at all the chlorophyll ebbing from the leaves, and therefore it's losing its ability to sequester carbon and produce oxygen. But a human response to this scene is that it takes your breath away. So if design is to behave more like nature, then it should knock your socks off. Now, unfortunately, design, especially in the building industry, sustainable design, has a reputation for keeping your socks decidedly intact. So this is the first LEED Platinum building in the Middle East, and it won an award a few years ago as the most intelligent building in the world, and by many measures it is. But it counts on technology purely to aid its performance, and I think it's safe to say that it's not the most inspired architecture. But as a result of buildings like this, many designers dismiss the whole sustainability agenda because they think it has nothing to do with what they care about most. Raphael Vignoli says sustainability has no relationship to style. Peter Eisenman says that sustainability has nothing to do with architecture. And the American Prospect magazine a few years ago asked whether well-designed green architecture is an oxymoron. Think about this. It's gotten to the point where the perception is that sustainability doesn't just occasionally lead to ugly, it inevitably leads to ugly. So to push back on this, there are lots of examples, not many, but lots, if you look closely for them, where designers are looking for a relationship between form and performance, or shape and sustainability. Mark West at University of Manitoba, to give you an example, he and his students are playing with fabric formwork. So if you know anything about concrete, we build boxes out of plywood or fiberglass. We pour in the concrete, which otherwise could take any shape. We tear off the formwork, and what's left over is box-shaped concrete. So hidden under here might be one of these concrete beams. So instead, with fabric, they can sew it into any shape, like a dress, pour in the concrete, tear away the formwork, and as a result, they can put concrete only where it's needed to support a given load on a floor or a roof. And as a result, they can save about half the amount of concrete because they no longer need to do it as a big box. and about 300 times the weight in formwork. I think it's safe to say that this is pretty inspired. I think this thing is beautiful. Now imagine if you applied that kind of ingenuity to every aspect of a building, whether it's beams or columns, doors, windows, what have you. Would buildings stop feeling like boxes and cages and start to feel more like walking through a forest? Now, if you attended the biomimicry session yesterday, you may be familiar with some of the premier examples of what I'm talking about. The Japanese bullet train, they reshaped the nose cone to act more like the kingfisher beak so that it can move through air more fluidly, and as a result, it goes 10% faster, 15% less energy, and no sonic boom, which was a problem before. An even more familiar example is Daimler Chrysler playing with reshaping their concept car to act more like the box fish, so to improve its aerodynamics, and as a result, it gets 84 miles per gallon with a regular diesel engine. Bill Gross, who founded Aptera, which is being touted as the most aerodynamically efficient vehicle ever, says that cars should look like dolphins, not SUVs. Things that move 70 miles per hour have no business being shaped like boxes. So the point of this is that there is a relationship between shape and sustainability, form and performance. If you read Emerson's famous essay on beauty, he looks to nature in this way. He says that the line of beauty is the result of perfect economy, pointing to honeycombs and the quills of feathers and such. One of the other lessons from nature is that it brings joy and delight. So, in fact, you could arguably claim that much of nature is propelled by the fact that one thing is attracted to another thing. Now, there are lots of designers playing with how to increase affection and strengthen the bond between user and product in order to extend the life of the product so we don't get rid of it whenever we get tired of it. Now, what's the benefit of this? It's been estimated that continuing to use an electronic device for 6 months or a year longer than we would normally throw it away can be 20 times more efficient than buying the new version of the product. In the building industry, recent studies show that even with energy-efficient buildings, it can still be 50% more efficient to adapt an existing building than it is to build a new one. It can take up to 80 years to make up for the original harmful impact of building even an energy-efficient building. So really the lesson from this, from everything from products to whole buildings, is that longer life leads to lower waste. So how do we ensure that we conserve things so that we continue to use them longer? In the end, we conserve only what we love. So it begs the question, what do we love? We tend to love babies. In fact, if you've taken a Psych 101 course, you know Conrad Lawrence's famous studies that we tend to be attracted to things that remind us of babies, rounded proportion, big eyes, which might be one of the reasons why when I drive around in my smart car, people turn and smile. It's like driving around a big baby head. When the new VW Beetle came out in the 90s, it was, the media said that it's the most smile-inducing car in decades. It's a regular-sized sedan that's shaped like a puppy. So recent studies, there are lots of studies like this. One of the more recent ones from University of Virginia, they were looking at YouTube and why the most popular videos that get billions of hits every year are things like kittens and puppies falling asleep. Well, they exposed people to these videos and found that it actually improved their mental aptitude scores and motor skills. There's something about these kinds of proportions that relax us. Now, is the lesson that everything should be shaped like babies and puppies? No, but should designers have a better understanding of our innate attraction to certain kinds of forms and images? Now, there's a growing body of literature that shows that shape, color, and pattern can have direct benefits to health and well-being. This is the basic designer's toolkit. The kinds of things that Raphael Vignoli and Peter Eisman say have nothing to do with sustainability actually can have a direct physiological response on us. I know very few designers who are actually aware of this research, so to me we're on the verge of a revolution around design science. So if you want to learn more about that, you can read my op-ed in last February's New York Times. Otherwise, you can read my book. And as one great idea, I propose that we try to collapse the divide between sustainability and work towards making them the same thing. Thank you.